Welcome to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. This is week 11 recap episode? And we have a special surprise for you today. I'm Brad, and Zach's back.
The Zach attack is back. It's good to be back.
I'm Hefe, here as usual.
Yeah. The old reliable Hefe. All right. So we definitely want to thank you for listening and watching, whatever the case may be. And as usual, we're just going to beg you to show us some love. And please like, share, and subscribe. And tell all of your friends. It really helps us out. We really appreciate the support. Word's getting out. We get more and more people listen to us every week, and we're very, very grateful for that. So we appreciate the support. Okay. I got killed on the pick'em this week. I don't know what the hell's going on around here. Hey, this is week 11, right? We should have all this should be figured out by now, right?
Yeah, you would think so.
You would think so. Look, the Titans beat the Ravens. The Dolphins lost. Washington football team beat the Bengals. And Joe Burrell went down. And I'd like to be serious for a second. I mean, the big news of the day is Joe Burrow's injury yesterday in the third quarter against the Washington football team. This is the part of the game that sucks right here. And, this kid comes in making the best of a bad situation in Cincinnati, comes in doing everything he's supposed to do, doing everything that everyone had hoped that he would. And I don't care if you're an LSU fan or an Alabama fan or Ohio State fan or whatever. I don't care. This is bullshit that this happened to this kid. I hate it for him. And I'm not even talking about, from a win standpoint. The Bengals have won more games probably than they would have if they didn't have him. They might have won yesterday. I didn't watch it, but this kid could have pulled him out. Maybe not. I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. This kid he not only has promise, but he inspires hope, and he has it. The it factor. It's the thing that you can't really put your finger on, but it separates an athlete from being just another ridiculously talented player to being a memorable one. And Joe Burrow appears that he has that. And, I want to keep things in perspective. He isn't dead. He didn't suffer some physically debilitating injury. He knows who he is and where he's at. And he's, kept all of his limbs, but, he's physically healthy, and he has more than enough money that he probably will never have to worry about money again. But his career is somewhat in doubt. And even if he does make a return, we don't know if he will be the same player he was before he went down yesterday. There's always that, right? I mean, can he physically come back, and then can he mentally come back as well? It's, rehab's hard. You're always the fear of being re-injured. It changes the way you play and that kind of stuff. Only time will tell, but I hate it. This is what sucks about the game. I saw someone say on social media yesterday they wish that we could just turn injuries off like we do on Madden, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, it just really puts it into perspective. So I want to wish personally, I know you guys are going to say what you want as well. I don't want to speak for you, even though I think I could. I personally want to wish Joe Burrow a speedy and full recovery. And as much as I'm not a Bengals fan, I was really looking forward to watching this kid have a long and successful career.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that same sentiment. Like, he's played very well this year. It's very sad to see him go down like that. I hope he makes a full recovery because I'm really excited to see what he can do throughout his career. So it's unfortunate. It seems like 2020 is the year of the ACL tears, but who knows? I hope he recovers, and I look forward to watching him again next year.
Yeah, and the one positive that comes out of this, they were already going to have a good draft pick, but there was always a chance that Joe Burrow pulls out 2 or 3 more games, and they end up with more of like a number 8 to number 12 draft pick rather than the top 5. But whatever they do, they need to take their early draft pick and get the best offensive lineman coming out of the draft. The most sure thing is going to be a good offensive lineman in drafting, because you got to be able I mean, we talked about it. I mean, pretty much all year. The offensive line was going to be an issue, and it was only a matter of time until we didn't think something this gruesome would happen, especially not in the first year. But hopefully he comes back and comes back kind of like an AP when he came back from his ACL tear and had one of the best, if not the best, running back season in NFL history. Hopefully that's the kind of thing we see from Joe Burrow. But I still think either way his future is going to be really bright.
Yeah, I do too. At least I hope so. So, okay, let's move on to the playoff race. Did we started the NFC last week, right?
Yep.
All right, so we are back to the AFC. In the first spot, no surprises here. Number one, still the Pittsburgh Steelers, because the Steelers are whipping that Jags ass like they're a kid that's been held back 2 years still and has a beard, still playing on the 8th grade football team. Zach, Hefe and I were talking about last week while you were out, getting in touch with your caveman side, out wandering the woods like your Bjorn Ironside.
Yeah, did you see the beard? I'm letting it go. No shave November, baby.
Yeah. Looking ahead at, are you gonna grow that out, Ragnar Lothbrok style? Are you going for the long beard?
I might. I don't know. I'm still undecided.
Let me know. I'll go with you. I ain't scared.
Well, if we're gonna do it, now's the time to do it. Being winter in Florida.
Winter in Florida. Yeah, I mean it was 72 degrees this morning. It was freezing. Look, Zach. Here's the reality. Hefe and I were talking about it, but I think I was talking and Hefe was trying to figure out a way to argue with me. But I don't think he did a very good job of it. Looking ahead at the schedule, I think the Steelers are going to run the table. I think they're going to be only
16-0.
Yeah, I think they're going to be the only team, only the third team in NFL history behind the 72 Dolphins and what was it, 2007 New England Patriots, to finish the regular season undefeated. I think they're going to do it.
Yeah, they definitely have a shot. They have 3 division games remaining, including playing Baltimore next week. So that'll be a huge one there. If they get over that hurdle, which the way Baltimore's been playing, I think they have a chance. They're going to Buffalo week 14, and then they play the Colts, which the Colts looked great this past weekend too against the Packers. So
agreed.
They still have some hurdles, but it is very possible for them to do it. I don't think they will. I think they'll drop 1 or 2 of those, but who knows?
Yeah, and initially I thought that the Ravens game was going to be more dangerous, but we're recording this on Monday, and as of 3:09 p.m., it came out that Ravens running backs Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins both tested positive for COVID-19. They have other staff members that have tested positive for COVID-19, and they play on Thanksgiving. So there's a short turnaround here. And so I think they're definitely, going to be able to beat the Ravens on Thanksgiving. They have some tough games. The Colts, as a Colts fan, I'm going to sit here and say there's no way they're beating them, especially the way the Colts just looked. But the Steelers are definitely making their case to be the team that could do it.
We talked about this before we knew what the Steelers were going to do. I mean, when we talked about the AFC at the beginning of the season, the 2 teams we were talking about were the Ravens and the Chiefs. Now, the Steelers were in the conversation, and the Steelers were in the conversation because we talked about their culture, and we talked about Mike Tomlin and how Mike Tomlin, every time he's had an 8-win season, has bounced back and usually taken the division. I certainly didn't expect what's happening right now. I mean, I wish I could claim that, but I can't. But I'm going to tell you, with those things that we talked about, with the culture in Pittsburgh and with Mike Tomlin being the coach he is and bouncing back like he has, and what they put together in these first 10 games with what's going on with Baltimore, like we just talked about, and even Cincinnati, Burrell go down. The Bengals now don't have a chance in hell beating the Steelers. We could have had some type of a conversation about an interdivision upset before Joe went down, but he's gone. Buffalo is on shaky ground. Buffalo can certainly beat Pittsburgh. They're on shaky ground. Indianapolis can beat Pittsburgh, but they're still, I'm not sure that Indianapolis still believes they are who we think they are. Well, that's a twist. I still think their identity, Dude, the Pittsburgh Steelers know exactly who they are. The Kansas City Chiefs know exactly who they are. Pittsburgh knows exactly who they are. I don't know the Buffalo and the Colts too. So there's certainly games that could win. But if I had to put my money on the rest of the Steelers games today, I would bet on them winning the next 6 games. That's just where I'm at.
Well, I mean, week 17 they have Cleveland, and they're in Cleveland. So I guess the question is, if the Steelers get to that point, are they going to rest their guys week 17? Or are they going to play that out? Because Cleveland's going to be bringing it because they're fighting for a playoff spot.
Well,
so do you rest your guys and risk losing that? Especially if the Chiefs are sitting there at 15-1.
Yeah. Hefe, do you want to answer this? You want me to? Because I've got an answer for this.
I think Mike Tomlin is certainly the kind of coach that when it comes down to it, they're going to go for it. I don't think he has any sibling in him of trying to take his foot off the pedal for any reason.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And now, Zach, to be fair, Hefe and I talked about this last week. So
yeah, I figured you guys said you're conspiring against me.
What Hefe's saying is Mike Tomlin is potentially the third Steelers Hall of Fame coach. Chuck Noll, for crying out loud. The guy won 4 Super Bowls in Pittsburgh. He's a legend. All right. So, and Tomlin has 2 Super Bowl wins.
Yeah, I think he has 2.
Yeah. All right. So 3 certainly puts him in that conversation with Chuck Noll, right? Dude, 16-0 puts him in that conversation with Chuck Noll. And I think just as a franchise, there's something weird about being in Pittsburgh. And we talked about this. We've talked about this for the last couple of weeks. I think you brought it up a couple of weeks ago about them just smashing you in the mouth and looking forward to hitting guys like Henry. That was a conversation that we had that you brought up. There's something weird about the culture there. Dude, I think they'll beat your ass all the way to the fence. I don't see them pulling their starters. I really don't.
Yeah. I mean, I was just kind of playing devil's advocate because I like when teams do that. It's like the Colts all those years ago when they'd be like 14-2 and they're like, oh, we're going to rest all of our starters. And we come out in the playoffs and completely awful.
Worked out real well, didn't it?
Yeah.
I'm all in
favor of it.
I think the Steelers culture is like the New England culture. I with Belichick. I think they don't care. And I think if nothing else, the Browns would probably be in trouble because I think the Steelers would come for that 16th win. I really do. So
that'll be an interesting matchup for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in Cleveland. I mean, I don't think the cold's going to matter right there in Pittsburgh, but
no.
They still are on the road. It makes for really good football. I'm really, Hefe, I know that you hate the Steelers, but dude, this is exciting, right?
Oh yeah, I can't wait for the Colts and Steelers to play later in the season. I think that's like the one game that the Steelers actually have a chance at losing.
I think you're right. We'll talk about it more when it comes, even though, right now I don't think they're going to win. I just told you that I would bet all 6 games on the Steelers, but I want to see what week is the Colts? Is it week 15?
16.
So we got a lot of football, a couple games to see how things shake out from there. So this kind of slides us right into the number 2 spot, the Kansas City Chiefs, because the Chiefs, well, all right. So they had a narrow escape with a huge win over the Raiders yesterday. So it wasn't a big, like fashionable light show confetti kind of win. They earned their win. They eked it, but it was a big win over the Raiders. And I don't know if most people truly understand just how important that win for the Chiefs was yesterday and the loss for the Raiders was yesterday. The Chiefs have quietly slid into a 9-1 record, which is amazing because they're so dynamic and so fun to watch. They're so ostentatious when you compare them to a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers. But because we're all talking about the Steelers, we're all talking about the Raiders, we're all talking about the Dolphins, the Chiefs have just quietly slid into a 9-1 record, and they are breathing down the Steelers' neck, daring them to make a mistake and slide into that number 1 spot with that bye. I was going to say that when I was talking about we're talking about the Steelers, the Raiders, and the Dolphins, I was going to say that notice that we're not talking about the Broncos and bring up Garrett Bowles again. But unfortunately, because of that bullshit that went down with Miami yesterday. We have to talk about the Broncos in a few minutes. So, in all fairness, Garrett Bowles, you win. Anyway, so here the Chiefs are sitting quietly at 9-1 with 6 games remaining. They could also rattle off the next 6 games, win the next 6 games.
It's going to be very difficult for them to do that. They lost to Las Vegas. They've struggled in a few games this year so far with the Chargers and the Raiders again Sunday. But they also have 2 more divisional games. They got the Broncos in Week 13. They have the Chargers again Week 17. But they also play at Tampa Bay in Week 12, at Miami Week 14, and at New Orleans in Week 15. That's a pretty tough stretch right there.
Yeah, but I mean, we're gonna really see are they gonna be able to repeat as Super Bowl champions? If they can get through all that and still come out 15-1 at the end of the year, then it's gonna be hard to see anybody beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I agree with that too. And I want to point out that their game yesterday with the Raiders are good, man. People need to pay attention. The Raiders are an absolute threat in the AFC for this playoff hunt, and I don't think it was just that the Chiefs didn't play well. I mean, you always can break that down. You can always point out things they didn't do well. I know Derek Carr had a good game, right?
Balling out, yep.
So, but it's because the Raiders are legit, not because the Chiefs didn't play well. And I think I want to make that a clear statement. All right, so are we ready to move into number 3, the Buffalo Bills?
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, unfortunately for the Miami Dolphins and their fans like me, the Buffalo Bills are still at the top of the AFC East, and they didn't even play this weekend. As much as I feel weird not talking about the Bills while we're talking about their playoff spot, the story here is, what happened during their bye week and the Dolphins dropping one to the Broncos. And I'm not so sure that we don't need to roll out the tape of when we basically agreed that Flores was making a bonehead move, replacing Fitzpatrick with Tua, and that we all agreed that he was fucking up the program. I mean, Tua had looked good the last 2 weeks, but they owned his ass yesterday.
Yeah, they did. That was a huge game for the Dolphins to lose. Had they won, they'd be sitting there at 7-3 with the Bills. Although, looking at the rest of the schedule, I don't see Miami being able to catch them, even if they won that game. The Bills, 7-3. They play Miami again Week 17. They have another divisional game against New England Week 16, and then they play Pittsburgh Week 14. Other than that, their schedule's a piece of cake. So even if Miami won that game, I don't see them catching the Bills. But to touch on the Dolphins, if we're going to go there, yeah, absolutely roll that tape back because we all called it. It was a mistake. Ryan Fitzpatrick should have kept leading that team.
Yeah, and I think that was pretty clear yesterday. Like Brad mentioned, for the last 2 weeks, Tua didn't go against really superior defenses, right? But you put him up against a team with some really good corners and good front seven, and they were getting pressure on him, and Tua ends up having to get pulled. And just going to reiterate the same thing, really. I think pulling Fitzpatrick before that bye week or during the bye week is going to end up being the mistake of the season for that Dolphins team. The defense also had an uncharacteristic game. They got ran all over, almost 200 yards, got put up on the ground on the Dolphins. Hopefully they can shore that up, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to catch the Bills for the division.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think how many times did they sack Tua yesterday? It was something ridiculous.
I'll look that up.
Anyway, the issue is and this is what we talked about a couple weeks ago.
6.
Yeah, I thought it was 6. Not to be confused with didn't Carolina get sacked 8 times?
The Falcons did.
The Falcons. Yeah. The problem with the move to Tua is, and we talked about this, that it was too early in the season. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think Hefe, you were saying that some people say that he likes to just make changes, people guessing. We were like, dude, they're in the hunt. They are legitimately in the hunt. And if he goes with Tua and it backfires, he can lose the momentum and the momentum and the chemistry that's in the locker room. So now what do? He pulled Tua. Now you've shattered this kid's confidence. You have to address that at some point because look, now you're the starter. You're in control of everything. Oh, now you're not. Now we got to go back with the old man because you weren't good enough. That plays a number instead of bringing the kid along all year, letting him come in and take snaps, run some plays, get in when the score's up. Let Fitzpatrick mentor this kid a little bit more. Keep building his confidence. Now it's wrecked. Now you got a Monday morning project. You got to start rebuilding this confidence. Now you went back to the guy that you just shit on 2 weeks ago. That half the locker room, at least half the locker room, 3/4 of them were probably like, I don't understand what the hell's going on here. And now you went back to them, and now they're all like, oh, well, maybe you don't know what you're doing because you had to come back this way anyway. He's got problems on his hands that he should be focusing on who he plays next to put another notch in the belt to take another step towards a playoff. And now he's dealing with emotional personnel games that are disrupting and taken away from that. Hindsight's 20/20, but we did call this when it happened a couple weeks ago. I love what he's doing. I really support the guy, and I hope that we're being over dramatic and this isn't going to affect them. This is the kind of shit that puts a team in a tailspin and they suddenly drift into oblivion. They're not in the playoff list anymore. What are they sitting, 9th? Do you say the Ravens are 8th, the Dolphins are 9th?
Yeah, they're sitting at 9 at 6-4.
36 hours ago, there was talk about them sliding into first place in the East. And now they're sitting in 9th and they're on the outside looking in. I hope he can get it fixed. I have faith that he can. I really like what he's doing, and I think everybody else is paying attention. So we'll move off the soapbox from there, and we'll talk about Hefe's favorite subject, sitting at the top of the AFC East, the Indianapolis Colts.
That's right. Went out there and pulled it together in the second half again, shutting the team completely down. They did everything they could to lose that game. The refs were the Packers were in the refs' pocket.
Oh, dude, you sound like a Colts fan.
Yeah, well, hey, eight holding calls in a row make you start bringing up conspiracy theories because that was crazy.
I have been watching football for how old am I? I've been watching football. I'm legitimately for 42 years. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Nothing, and they say that there's holding on every play. And if you've ever played football, there's holding on every play. But they were showing the slow-mos of what they were doing, and there was one by Quentin Nelson and one by Michael Pittman where he basically tackled the guy. But all the other ones were just ticky-tack holding calls. You could see in the slow-mo when the defender started to pull away and he had a hold of him, and then they would let him go, but they were still throwing the flag on him. And at first it took a really good Jonathan Taylor run off the board, 7 points. It should have been a 10-point game at that point with less than 2 minutes. Packers shouldn't have had a chance. And then another one and another one and another one and another one, and just like that throughout a field goal range. So it was a wild ending.
Absolutely. I'm glad the Colts won. The Packers are my second favorite team. The Colts, obviously, number one. So I was really looking forward to this game. I'm high on the Packers. I have them as – well, obviously, they're sitting at number 2 in the NFC right now, but they're one of my favorites to probably get to the Super Bowl. So this was a huge game for me. I'm glad the Colts pulled it out. Even getting through the adversity of all those penalties, they were still able to get it done. Phillip Rivers looked pretty good. The Colts' rushing attack looked pretty good. The defense played well. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and they had a pretty good game against him. He still made the plays, which is why it was close. The Colts had to make a comeback, win the game, but they got it done. They won 34-31. So that puts him – that was a huge game, considering that the Titans, who we're going to talk about in a minute, beat the Ravens. So both these teams are sitting at 7-3, tied in the AFC South. But the Colts still have a pretty rough stretch looking ahead. So we're sitting – I think we have – 2 games against Houston, game against Jacksonville. Still have to play the Raiders and Pittsburgh. So I don't know, man. I feel uneasy about the AFC South here.
The Titans also have a pretty tough schedule remaining, right?
Yeah, they have Jacksonville, Houston, Cleveland, and they play the Packers in Green Bay. So
yeah, so I don't want to start talking about the Titans yet, but I was impressed. I'm gonna say that. I want to reiterate what you guys both said, that despite shooting themselves in the foot repeatedly at the end of that game, they still found a way to win against one of the best teams in the NFL. And there were 2 or 3 occasions in the end where I thought, and this doesn't have anything to do with, but what I've seen Aaron Rodgers do repeatedly over his career. There were 2 to 3 times in the last couple minutes of that game I thought, this doesn't look good, and they were still able to hold off and win the game. There's something else I'd like to address. There's 2 things I'd like to address. First of all, last week we talked about this Jacoby Brissett bullshit. I'm so tired of hearing. I've seen all kinds of Colts fans on social media saying, bring back Jacoby Brissett. We don't like. Look, man, you damn near got what you wished for yesterday. I thought when Rivers went out, I thought, this is, oh, great. And what Brissett came in, what we do, start kicking field goals. And then we got a turnover. And what we do, we start kicking field goals. So be careful what you wish for. Phillip Rivers is the guy. If this team is going to go to the Super Bowl this year, Phillip Rivers is the only person on the roster that's going to be in that position, is going to take him there. Stop the bullshit. Stop talking about it. Brissett is gone. He's gone. He's either going to be a backup next year or he's going to be somewhere else. He doesn't need to be. And Hefe and I talked about this last week. They were the 30th ranked offense last year. Why would you want that back? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I believe in manifestation. I believe enough people say it, stuff happens. And when Rivers went down, I almost became one of those angry Chicago Bears fans that was going to rip my TV off the wall. I thought, I can't believe this is happening. So thank goodness he toughed it out. I think he's still hurt. I haven't gotten an injury report. I'm pretty sure with the way he was walking, he was playing hurt because he knew it was an important game. And that's all the more reason that people just need to shut up and let the guy do his job.
Yeah, well, after the game, I watched his press conference, and he said that it was just his big toe. He's never dealt with the toe injury. He said that it was messing with him. So, a little turf toe, but it didn't seem to affect him. He still came out. He was making all the throws at the end of the game. His one interception in the game, kind of his fault because of his throwing motion, but it got tipped. It would have been right on point in stride to Trey Burton, but got tipped and got intercepted. And for all the, like Zach says, for all those haters, Rivers haters out there, in the last 5 games, he has 10 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Can't argue that.
No, you can't argue that. And a winning record, and you're sitting at the top of the AFC East. I don't know. I do know what they want. They're spoiled. Years of Manning and Luck have spoiled people. That we are lucky to have this caliber quarterback in Indianapolis that we have right now. And it's going to be obvious when he is no longer around, whether it's this year or next year, whatever happens, and we have to go through this again. The people who know what they're talking about are going to collectively hold their breath and wait to see if we get spoiled again. The other thing I'd like to address is there were a lot of people yesterday talking about Frank Reich's play calling ability. I'm milling over my words to try to be polite. Dude, if I sat down at a table with Frank Reich, I would shut the up and listen to what this man has to say.
Yeah, no doubt.
I would feel weird asking questions like I was going to say the wrong thing. This man knows. Dude, I've been watching football for 42 years. I've coached a lot of youth and middle school football. I watched a lot of games. I'm a strategist. I study things, and I would be afraid to ask this dude questions. This guy knows what he's doing. And what I love about him is, what were you going to say, Zach?
I was going to say he took Nick Foles and won a Super Bowl.
Exactly. You know what else he did last week? Is he kept going for it on 4th down, and he just shoved it right down the Titans' throat. And you know what he did yesterday? When you expect him to run, he threw it. Should he have thrown it because of the clock? No. But those are simpleton. This is how us normal people get on the game. But Frank Reich has so much confidence in what's going on, and so much anticipation about what the defense is going to do. He calls a play that's unexpected. And with what I saw last week, with kept going for a 4th down and kept converting on 4th down just over and over and over and over and over. If the guy wants to throw freaking football the 2 or 3 times they threw it and stopped the clock last night. I'm going to let him do it. They won.
Yeah. I love the aggressiveness.
I do too. And I think it's because he's smart. I think he knows as at a level and understands the game. And if you heard Troy Aikman and Joe Buck talk about him yesterday, I mean, Aikman was talking about Reich's on another level. And I believe we've talked about that on this show. And to hear a guy like Aikman talk about that Reich's on another level, the people need to understand this. We've said this before in this show this year. This is probably going to end up, before this is all over, be the best coach in Indianapolis Colts history. And I believe that with everything I have. So we got to stop nitpicking just because it's not working the way we think it should work. You know, they hand the ball off and they run right up the middle and they get stuffed. It's easy to say, well, then why didn't they bounce it to the outside? I mean, it's a game of chess, and you've got very powerful minds that are trying to beat each other to the punch. I'm beating a dead horse here. This guy knows what he's doing, and people just need to back off and let them do what they're doing. Again, what are we? 7-3, 8-3, 7-3 at top of the AFC East. I don't know what more you can ask for.
The East was like 20 years ago.
I know. Old habits die hard. I'm showing my age there, boys. Is Dan Marino still the quarterback of the Dolphins? So that's my rant. I just, people need to have faith in Reich and carry that faith over and carry Reich's faith in Rivers and just back off and let them do their thing.
Yeah. What's the old motto? Believe in blue.
Yeah.
So believe in it.
And I'm going to make a very bold statement.
Uh-oh.
Aside from Peyton Manning, this is one of the best Colts teams I've seen in a long, long, long time. This team is balanced across the board. Like, dude, when Tony Dungy was here, you know how I feel about Dungy. He's a good coach. They had to have a shootout to win, and if things didn't go well, they didn't win. This team will beat you 8 different ways. This may be the best Colts team I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I mean, super well-rounded. Everybody knows statistically, they're the best defense in the league. And we've talked about special teams, especially after that Titans game, we talked about special teams. But they have the number 1 rated special teams in the league. And now the offense is healthy, and over the last couple of weeks has been one of the top 5 offenses in the league. So, I mean, from all 3 phases, you're getting just massive production. You're getting turnovers from special teams. Obviously, defense is opportunistic. Julian Blackmon just won us the game for the 3rd time already as a rookie. And, I mean, you're getting massive contributions to go kind of back to the Reich thing, massive contributions from rookies just in this last game. Jonathan Taylor, 90 yards, finally had a good breakout game. Michael Pittman, huge touchdown to match what the Packers did early, kept us in that game for a little while. And then obviously Blankenship doing his thing as a kicker all year long. I mean, it's been masterful what they've been able to do, and to do it on all 3 phases just really speaks to Reich and his coaching staff and what they've been able to do over the last 2-3 seasons.
I've got nothing to add. Jeff just hit the nail on the head.
Yep. All right. We all agree. All right. So now let's talk about the flip side. The number 5 spot is the Tennessee Titans. That game yesterday, for them being the Ravens, was huge. It's bigger than I want to admit today. The Colts have a slightly, and I know you and I, Zach, you might have been on this. It might have been before you went off to the Arctic Circle. But I said a few weeks ago that I thought the Titans had a better shot of winning the East back in
South.
Are you kidding me? Wow. This is what happens when people get senile. They start talking about stuff like, that happened a long time ago, like it's happening right now. This is it right here. This is the first stages. You're seeing it.
Oh boy.
All right. So a couple weeks ago, probably week 8 or 9 or whatever, I said that I thought the Titans had an easier road to win the AFC South than the Colts had. And I know we talked about it in the group anyway. And I still believe that. I think it's only slightly, but I still believe that. And in that conversation that we had, this AFC playoff race, especially because Cleveland refuses to go away, and I thought that would have evened out a little bit more. I thought they'd be more in the 6-4 range, if not the 5-5 range. And they refuse to go away. The Raiders are just getting better every week, and we have the Ravens and the Dolphins on the outside looking in. And I said in that, I'm getting there. Just be patient. I'm getting there. I said that only one team from the AFC South is going to the playoffs. And I still believe that. And the Titans winning yesterday scares the hell out of me. It really does.
Yeah, I agree. They like I said, they have Jacksonville week 14. They should win that game. But it's a divisional game. It's in Jacksonville. You never know. I hope the Jags can pull something and take that one. They also play at Houston week 17. But then they have Cleveland week 13, which that'll be a huge game. And then they're at Green Bay week 16. So I do think they have an easier track than the Colts just by a game. It's going to be very interesting. I also believe that right now, one of those two teams probably will not get in as well. But who knows? I mean, we're going to talk about Cleveland too. They still have Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and that Tennessee game. So I don't know.
To me, I think Tennessee, if Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams don't have to miss the game on Sunday, then I think the Ravens win. But they weren't able to stop Derrick Henry, and those are two defensive linemen that are, they're the best two defensive linemen that the Ravens have. And so I think, that was going to be an issue. And there for a while, it looked like the Ravens were still going to win. But, Derrick Henry just has a way of getting going there toward the end of games and was able to obviously bust out the touchdown in OT. And so a win's a win, but it doesn't concern me. I'm not concerned about the Titans. I think, their defense, when it comes down to it, their defense just isn't good enough. Their offensive line can't handle an elite pass rush. So, I think the Titans are going to end up making the playoffs anyways, because I think, the Ravens are going to continue to fall apart. I think we're going to keep seeing that as the weeks go on. I did a couple weeks ago. I was agreeing with you guys. I thought it was going to be one AFC South team making it in, but after this weekend, it's just not looking like that anymore.
Well, this coming week they play each other, so one of these two teams, one of these two teams are going to be 7-4, and then you have the rest of the back schedule that I brought up earlier. So,
yeah, that's exactly right. And then you have those other teams. So Miami's still on the climb. They've got some problems they got to sort out. Hopefully they can get those sorted out and get back to what they were doing, which is getting better every week. The Raiders are getting better every week. The Browns do have a tough schedule. We know that. So this week, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. We keep saying this, but as of right now, this week with the Titans and the Colts is both these teams is the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be the third week in a row. It's basically a playoff game. You have to win this game if you're the Colts.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And crazier things could happen, right? So it's a good point about the Ravens. The thing about the Titans and the Ravens game is that I find myself wondering: am I just not able to give the respect to the Titans that they deserve, or am I giving too much to the Ravens? And every week I have this conversation with both of these teams or whoever they're playing. I come to the conclusion that it's both. Right? The Titans won a big game yesterday. I don't want to take that away from them. But then again, the Ravens appear to be going backwards. Just a little bit of time, they feel it's like they're on the riverbank and they're just losing their footing enough that pretty soon they're going to fall in the river and get swept away. And I think and you alluded to that a second ago, Hefe. I think they're in a lot of trouble. I think they got a lot of things that they need to fix, and I don't see them having enough time to fix it.
When it's 2020 and your number one and number two receivers on the day are Willie Snead and Des Bryant, then offensively, you're just doing something wrong. There's the passing game, you know, it's as much as it's on Lamar, he has to be better, but I mean, what's he got to work with? They drafted Marquise Brown. He's not working out. He's nothing like Antonio Brown, which everybody was hoping it'd be like, oh, it's his cousin. He's going to be just like that. That hasn't worked out, And then, like I said, Willie Snead hasn't been a major producer in the NFL since like 2017. Des Bryant, same thing. So, I mean, they're relying completely on the run game, and when they get down, they can't come back because the passing game doesn't work. So it's just not looking good right now for the Ravens.
Agreed. So sliding into the number 6 spot, we're talking about the Browns as well. They've got a tough road ahead of them. They're at 7-3. They're going to have to get in on record because nobody's catching the Steelers for the AFC North. It's just not going to happen. And the Browns have the Raiders and the Dolphins sitting right behind them. Can the Browns hang on to this spot?
I think week 14, when they play the Ravens, they have to win that game. If they don't win that game, I don't see it happening because, in my opinion, I feel like it's either going to be the Raiders, almost for sure sliding in there because they have Indianapolis week 14, Miami week 16. They play the Chargers and the Broncos, and that's all they got. So I would almost bet that the Raiders are going to slide into one of those wild card spots. But then you have the Browns, the Ravens, and the Titans or the Colts fighting it out. So they have to win week 14 against the Ravens, unless Baltimore just completely falls apart, which I don't think will happen, but the way they've been playing, there's no telling. So my opinion, week 14, they win that. I think the Browns are in.
That week 14 matchup is exactly why I think the Ravens are in, or the Ravens are out, but the Browns are in. I think the way the Browns are playing, when you get into December and it starts to snow and you have to go into Cleveland or into Baltimore and it's a snowy game or a wet game. I mean, you look at the last 3 games for the Browns, they've had to play in pretty big rainfall, so they've had to run the ball and it's been nasty, grind out kind of games. But it's perfect for the kind of schemes that Kevin Stefanski runs and the way that offense works. Nick Chubb is an animal. You have Kareem Hunt to back him up. So, why not keep the run game going in these nasty weather games? You're going to be able to hit, some play action passes. You still have Baker as quarterback, so I don't know what much you can do there. But I do think that the Browns look good enough right now, and they won without Myles Garrett. I like that, and he's apparently out this Sunday. That'll be something to watch. I don't know why they already ruled him out. Usually, guys are just missing one game due to COVID. So I'm interested to know more about what's going on with him and why he's already been ruled out for a second game. But I do think that the Browns are going to get in, and the Ravens are out.
Well, the Browns are going to pick up a win this week. I memean, they're going to. I hate to say this, but the Jags may be worse than the Jets. So they're certainly going to move to 8-4, and so the Raiders are 6-4, and between the Titans and the Colts, one's going to 8-4, and the other one's going to 8-3, and one's going to 7-4. So there's going to be a lot of movement this coming week. And the Raiders are 6-4. I think they'll beat the Falcons. If the Raiders are as legit, and let's slide in right now, the number 7 spot, the last spot, is held by the Raiders. I think the Raiders are legit. I think they're getting better every week. If they can't beat the Falcons at this point, then I'm completely wrong.
Yeah, I like the Raiders here too. I think there's no way they don't get in the playoffs. I think they're for sure at least going to stay in that 7 seed. They have to play the Colts. That's going to be a really good game. A couple weeks ago, I would have said, for sure the Colts could win that game, but that should be a really good game. The Raiders are going to be really dangerous for any team that they have left on their regular season schedule, and whoever they get in the playoffs. I mean, they're no slouch, and they had every chance to win the game against the Chiefs here. They could have made this division a lot more interesting going down the stretch with a win, but unfortunately, they had 10 defensive guys couldn't even practice during the week. 3 of those guys had to miss the game, one of them being LaMarcus Joyner. And I still believe and will always believe that if LaMarcus Joyner was there on that touchdown play where Travis Kelce was wide open, I think LaMarcus Joyner is there in that spot, and that play doesn't get messed up. But going forward, like I said, the Raiders obviously not winning their division, but I don't think they're going to be one of the teams that gets bounced.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said a couple minutes ago, they only have 2 divisional games. One's against the Chargers, one's at Denver. They also play Indianapolis and Miami. But like I said, put your money on the Raiders. I think they're in there.
Now, the Indianapolis game and the Dolphins game, I mean, they changed the complexity of this because neither one of those games are foregone conclusion. I wouldn't right now speak about Indianapolis and Las Vegas. It's too early to tell. I need to see some more games and get closer to game time before I have an opinion on that. But at this point, I would go with the Raiders over the Dolphins just because of what happened yesterday. If we had this conversation a week ago, I might call that a coin toss. So it'll be interesting to see what the Dolphins have, what they do to overcome that. The problem with the Dolphins is before this, and this is prior to yesterday's, I'm going to call that an anomaly. And I know that's oversimplified. I don't mean to, but the problem with the Dolphins is that they're still so new to this whole thing. Winning is so new to the program. And, winning is something that to sustain your winning, you have to believe that you're legitimately winning. And that only comes with more winning. And then it comes with getting punched in the face every once in a while and staggering backwards and figuring out how to maneuver around that, which is what happened yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see what Flores does and how they respond with all that. And if they do, they might make some tweaks and get their momentum back up and keep stumbling through getting punched in the face yesterday and start walking upright. And it could be a different game with the Raiders. But right now, if I had to put my money on one between the Dolphins and the Raiders, I would put my money on the Raiders. But they're both moving in the right direction, in my opinion. The last thing we need to say, we've already said it once, so just kind of recap it because the Dolphins and the Ravens are the 2 teams on the outside looking in right now. I think the Ravens will be eliminated, and you both have said this too. We think they'll be eliminated from this conversation here in the next couple of weeks.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Well, that wraps up the AFC playoff picture as it stands today on November 23rd. And now we're going to move on to the NFC. Okay. So at the number 1 spot's the New Orleans Saints. Hefe and I talked about this last week. This whole thing was real shaky for a while. And I wasn't sure about the Saints off and on. They showed signs of vulnerability. I thought, I'll quit talking about that. Right now, my money's on the Saints in the NFC. So it's just the way it is, especially after what they did yesterday. Drew Brees is out, and they just got it done, and that's what championship teams do. I love Sean Payton. Do we have a timetable when Brees is coming back?
I believe it's 6 to 8 weeks.
They better make a deep run, huh?
Yeah.
I was impressed with the way they handled their business with Hill under center yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. He didn't make all the best throws in the world. There was one throw down the field that he way underthrew the ball, but Emmanuel Sanders came back and made a really good catch on it. But his dual threat ability was able to open things up. Michael Thomas looked like Michael Thomas again. Taysom Hill was throwing to him all day long. And this was the first game in Alvin Kamara's career where he didn't even get a catch in the game. So, they didn't have to factor him in to the passing game, and they were still effective. There was no passing touchdowns, but Taysom Hill runs for 2 touchdowns, and they're able to get the win. And it'll be interesting to see if Taysom can get better as a passer. If he rattles off 5 or 6 wins, then Drew Brees comes back. What kind of offense is that going to look like when we go into the playoffs? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, so I kind of need to explain myself a little bit because, as you know, I took the Falcons in this game. And I listened. I got caught up. I watched you guys, all that. But I took the Falcons because they have been playing better. I was anticipating Jameis Winston being the quarterback. But had I known that Taysom Hill was going to be, I probably would have switched because I'm not a huge Winston guy. I know he has all the talent in the world. He's capable of making the plays, but the dude is a turnover machine. That's why I took the Falcons to upset the Saints. Obviously, I was completely wrong. They look great. I'm still iffy on their seeding with Drew Brees being out so long. But I definitely think that they're in such a good position now. They're sitting at 8-2 that they're definitely going to make the playoffs.
Well, first of all, I mean we do a lot of kidding here. The first half yesterday, you look like a genius.
I didn't even watch it. I'll be honest, I didn't watch it.
What was it? At one point, it was 9-6. The Falcons were up.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. In the second half, Sean Payton just came out with and pulled a switch off the tree and just started handing out ass whippings all over the place. But in the first half, I thought, damn, Zach knows what he's talking about. So no apologies necessary. I mean, it's weird with Breeze being out. They're a completely different team. Hill was impressive. And that second half, the Saints just did whatever they wanted to do, and their defense was ridiculous. So, and the Falcons have been getting better, and teams like that are really unpredictable because they underachieved with Quinn, and Morris is getting something out of them that they weren't doing before, and they could have come out and they could have won this game 24-9. We just don't know. So, looking ahead though is kind of the key. The Bucs aren't going to catch the Saints. The Saints own them the two games. I mean, they own both the games. I don't know how that works is that like a double tiebreaker? I don't know how that works. But we only have 6 games left. They're one game out of first place. The Saints have the Broncos, the Falcons, the Eagles, the Vikings, and the Panthers. They've got the Chiefs in there too. And I'm not looking at the Bucs schedule. I should probably pull it up and take a look at it too. But I don't think the Saints are in danger. I'm a little discouraged that Breeze is going to be out as long as he is. It doesn't surprise me because Hefe and I talked about last week about the injury that he had, that it's not, depending on the severity of it, that those can be your rib. Dude, you need your ribs. When you're throwing a football, you need your ribs. There's no way around it. But I don't see the Bucs catching them. And now that I'm looking at the schedule, they have the Rams and the Chiefs. The Saints just got to drop, 3 games out of the next 6, and the Bucs would have to win, predominantly all of them. They're going to have to win one between the Rams and the Chiefs. I'm not sure that they can win both those. So I think the Saints are going to hang on to their division and their playoffs. So maybe not take the I don't know. I would say maybe not take the number 1 spot, but now we're looking at number 2 and number 3, and unfortunately we'll have to talk about number 4. But 2 and 3 are both at 7-3. The Packers got beat by Indianapolis. The Seahawks are struggling. But the Saints could still hold on to this number 1 spot.
I don't know. The Packers are sitting right there.
It's a good point. So, okay, we'll talk about the Seahawks. The thing about the Seahawks is, and Hefe, I love Hefe's word he used last week, is that the NFC West is just cannibalizing itself right now. You're going to have 3 teams that should be in the playoffs, and 2 of them probably won't because everybody else has easier schedules than what these guys have.
Yeah, pretty much. I would think the Seahawks should, in my mind, end up with the number 1 here. I think they will end up with the number 1. But like you said, their schedule is it's brutal. You have to play 6 games against teams that are all going to end up with winning records coming out of your own division, and then you got to stack on everybody else you're playing. So it's going to been a tough road. It's going to be a tough road, but their defense looked really improved. It looks like Carlos Dunlap is really starting to settle in to that defense. He had an effect in the last game, got the sack that ended the game on Kyler Murray on Thursday night. So, as long as they can stay healthy, they got to be able to keep their starters in there, because obviously when one of those guys gets hurt, it's a complete disaster. But as long as their defense is healthy and the offense, Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Chris Carson should be coming back soon. So I still don't want to discount the Seahawks from getting that number one spot.
Interesting. I don't think they'll be able to get the number one at all, to be honest with you. Like you said, they're cannibalizing themselves in that division. The Seahawks have 2 divisional games left. I think, let me see here. The Rams have 4. They also play Tampa Bay tonight, which will be a huge game for them.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals also have 3 divisional games.
The cool thing is they all have NFC East games.
Yeah. True. So I don't know. I don't think the Seahawks are going to have enough to get the number 1 seed. I think that's either going to be the Saints, the Bucks, or the Packers. And I'm not. Yeah, well, compared to the Rams and the Cardinals, the Seahawks are sitting in a better spot right now, leading the division. Especially if the Rams lose to the Bucks, the Seahawks have a pretty good chance of winning that division.
That's a big if the Rams lose to the Bucks. The Rams are very capable of beating the Bucks tonight.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. We've been talking about it all season long that this is the wildest, most intriguing division in all of football, and it's living up to the hype, and it looks like it's going to live up to the hype all the way through week 17.
Yeah, and to put this in perspective, we're running down these, but there are 3 NFC West teams in the 7-team hunt, and that includes the clown ass Eagles out of the NFC East with only 3 wins. So, the 49ers could potentially, if we weren't taking divisional winners, the 49ers would be sitting right here knocking on the door trying to get in as well. So when we keep saying they're cannibalizing each other, there are 4 really good teams just beating the crap out of each other. All right, so let's talk about the Packers. What? And I'm gonna defer to you, Zach, because you follow them pretty closely. What do they have left on their schedule? I mean, what's their road to what do you predict their final record to be?
It's actually fairly easy. They have 3 divisional games. They play Chicago twice. They're in Detroit week 14. Then they play the Eagles week 13. And really the only tough game they have left is Tennessee in week 16. So they have a very real possibility of running the table as well.
All right. So in comparison to the Buccaneers, the Buccaneers have the Rams tonight. They have the Chiefs, and then they have the Vikings, which would have been a better conversation had they not lost to the Cowboys last night. I don't know. What are they doing, man? Anyway, I think it's safe to say we just broke down we just broke down these schedules pretty much between the Seahawks, the Packers, and the Bucks, and maybe even the Rams, right? So I think the Packers have the better chance of taking the number 1 spot away from New Orleans than anybody at this point. I think that all these other teams are certainly capable, but the NFC West is cannibalizing themselves. I'd almost say that if the Rams beat the Bucks tonight, they may have as good a shot as the Packers, but they still got a lot of NFC West games, and those are less like tiptoeing through a minefield. Can we at least agree that? Well, we can't because FA likes the Seahawks. I was going to say that the Saints and the Packers probably pick up the 1 and 2 spot, but this is a good spot to be in because we have no idea what's coming in the next couple of weeks. There's a lot of good football left.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I think we can. Okay. So at number 4 is the Philadelphia Eagles with 3 wins, 6 losses, and 1 tie. Headed en route to be the first team to ever make the playoffs with only 5 or 6 wins.
Yeah, well, they're only a half game up of the entire division right now.
The entire division is in second place. So they all have 3 wins now, right?
Yep. It's that 1 bye against the Bengals that have the Eagles up front right now. Or that 1 tie. Did I say bye?
3 wins for basically a 4-way tie for first place. I never thought I'd see it. This is the kind of stuff you guys are going to tell your grandkids when you're younger, and they're going to roll their eyes and ask if you're done talking yet. You're going to be like, I remember when. They're going to one of these teams is going to get in the playoffs with 5 or 6 wins, and it's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, they all of them have a pretty tough schedule on the back end too. So
and
It's
they're
gonna be
cannibalizing
crazy.
each other in a different way.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, so the number 5 spot is the Buccaneers. We've talked about them already. The number 6 spot is the LA Rams. The number 7 spot is the Cardinals, and number 8 is the Bears, right? And the Bears aren't getting in. I mean, these are your playoff spots. We can talk about the Bears if you guys want to. We can talk about the Bears, but I don't see it happening.
The Bears have to beat the Packers at least once, maybe twice, if they want to get in.
Yeah, the Bears aren't going to the playoffs. These are your playoff teams. And I talked about that last week too. That they're 14 to 16 good teams, and everybody else is on a lower tier. And except for the Eagles or whoever's coming out of the NFC East, they'll be the one team that will be in the playoffs that shouldn't be there. Everything else looks like it's going to take care of itself, and that every other team looks like they belong here.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. They should let whoever the 8 seed is in the AFC, they should let them be the 4 seed instead of whoever the NFC East team is.
Just let them slide on over the NFC. And
yeah, just like, hey, go over here, take over real quick. We need better football.
Yeah, so does the NFL look at going with an NBA-style playoff system after this year, or do they keep their division winner?
You know, what I heard just a couple of days ago was that as much as it would make sense to go off win percentage or some other thing than division winners, the 32 owners like the fact that somebody gets to go to the playoffs for winning the division. For some reason, that's something that they all think, which, I mean, for the most part, I mean, it is a special thing when there's other competitive teams in your division, but then, you know, you have situations like this. And from what it sounded like, it's something that happens so rare that they don't really have any intention on changing it.
Well, let me pose this. Would you guys be opposed to expanding the playoff field to 8 teams per conference, taking your division winners as an automatic bid, but reseeding them based off schedule and tiebreakers instead of giving division winners a home game?
Well, they won't do that because the bye week is such a reward.
Well, I mean, they got this year. They bumped it up to 7 and got rid of the number 2 bye week.
You're right. I mean, maybe we go to 10 and 2 teams get a bye again. I don't know.
Yeah, just put them all in 16.
I don't know. Maybe the solution to this problem is that every division winner goes unless they don't reach 500.
Yeah, just let that be a clause in there. That's not a bad idea.
You have to at least be 8-8 to make the playoffs.
Well, it's like college football. You have to win at least 6 games to be bowl eligible. So
there you go.
Probably not a bad idea.
Yeah. But I think the division portion of it is so historical and so tradition. It's rooted in tradition. I don't see them doing away with it completely. At least not in the beginning. They might have to make a change like we just talked about. And it does happen rarely. When was the last time? It was the Carolina Panthers, right? 7-9 squeezed in. And I don't know when it happened before that, but I know it's rare.
Yeah. At the very least, they need to take away the automatic home game in the playoffs for divisional winners. At the very least.
Yeah.
Even if you're going to let them in, don't give them a home game. They don't deserve it.
Yeah. Good point. On the flip side, somebody's going to be really happy they're going to get the Eagles first round.
Yeah.
Sure.
Much.
So if you have to play a wild card game, play an extra game, then at least you're going to get somebody like the Eagles. So, okay, cool. Any last words? Anything anybody wants to add?
It's good to be back.
Bjorn Ironside back from the frozen tundra,
out there hunting bears and stuff.
All right, that is it for the week, and not for the week. It is it for the wrapping up week 11, and you have to join us on Thursday when we talk about week 12. Reminder, it's not too late to go head to head against us in the weekly pick 'em battle. It's a mess after this week. I missed like 2 weeks ago, and then I might have not even participated yesterday. I was just decimated. I don't even know how many I got wrong. So if you have any hesitancy about getting into our head to head weekly pick 'em battle, don't. it's a disaster for everybody. Hop on to our Facebook, Twitter page at Horsemen Sports, where you can find the link to join our free Pigskin Pick'em League and win a prize, and maybe get on air with us to represent your team. Also, every Wednesday, check out Hefe's weekly power rankings, and he just loves it when you check him out and you tell him how wrong he is, and he likes to be educated, right?
I'm never wrong. Stop that. Never wrong.
You can also find that on our Facebook and Twitter pages at Horsemen Sports. And we really want you to check it out. We'd like to hear your comments, what you think. It's not a science. If it were, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing, and a lot of people like us wouldn't have a job. So we'd love to hear your thoughts about your favorite team's ranking, but we're not going to argue with you about it, any NFC East teams or the Jets. In the fantasy football, check out our weekly episode of Fantasy Central, where Zach and Hefe cover this week's top waiver wire picks, must-starts, and players to avoid this coming week. And, of course, we will see you back here on Thursday for this week's game picks and our preview show for the weekend. Until then, thanks for joining us. See you Thursday.